And now this idea of proprietary, so the student doing their work. I remember the images that we put in the didactic pedagogy videos of students, doing their own work, having their blinkers on, and so on. Here, it's much more interactive. It might involve group work, and you can see the teacher there walking around the room. The teacher doesn't have the same privileged place that they used to have in the room. And it's not just my work. See the work being put up on the wall. So the idea that this is work to be shared for public display. These are all, look, it's seemingly subtle, but actually very, very significant shifts that are going on in the dynamics of learning. Epistemological. So if you recall, in didactic pedagogy, there were certain facts and certain theorems which you were going to learn. You were going to remember the facts and you were going to operationalise the theorems so you got the right answer. Okay, so that's, or maybe you were also going to learn some definitions of concepts as well and be able to define things correctly. So you learn things off by heart. What we have with authentic pedagogy is we have the rise of a number of other activity types. It's not just a matter of reading the textbook and giving the answers and doing the test and showing that you can give the right answer, working your way through all the exercises, but perhaps you're exposed to authentic texts. Newspapers, people who come into the class and speak. So the authentic texts of the world are brought in. It's not just these artificial texts which are teacher talk and the textbook. You might research, you might look things up, you might go to the library, you might use an encyclopedia, you might get involved in discussions. You might, in science, do experiments, not just read about the science, but do an experiment where you demonstrate the experiment yourself. You might get involved in a field trip to a site of natural importance, if in science, or to a museum. You might be given problems to solve. You might do projects, and there's a whole movement towards project-based learning, building these artefacts which are complex artefacts which describe a whole topic or a whole issue or a whole problem. So these are different kinds of activities from what was characteristically the knowledge activities of didactic pedagogy. These are very big shifts, and a whole repertoire of new activity types like these emerges. Pedagogically now, what's happened? Well, we have now inquiry learning, which is a counterpoint to transmission pedagogy. So transmission pedagogy tells you the facts and gives you the theorems, whereas inquiry learning means you figure it out for yourself one way or another. Active learning, so instead of being a passive recipient of knowledge that's being transmitted to you, you actively build that knowledge by searching out sources, doing projects, all those kinds of activities that I spoke about just a minute ago. Now, one of the words that's used to describe this is the idea of constructivism. So constructivism is, instead of me being told something, I mentally build the model of how something operates. I mentally build my own understanding. So understanding is not what I've been told. Understanding is my own internalized figuring out, my own internalized reasoning, to go back to Jean-Jacques Rousseau's concept. And what this produces is understanding. It's not just this superficial knowledge of facts and superficial capacity to operationalise formulae. It's deep understanding of the logic behind things. These are new theoretical and pedagogical aspirations. Finally, what's the moral economy of this kind of pedagogical regime? One is its active participation. We want you to be an active learner. We want you to take knowledge responsibilities. You are partly responsible for your own learning, and you take responsibility for that. You become an actor, and you drive your action by a sense of responsibility to yourself and to the work that you're doing and to your peers that might be working with you in your group. And going further on, beyond this, there's actually an idea of citizenship. So, the traditional citizen who passively did what they were told, march off to war, obey the law, do what you're told, obey authority. There's an idea of participatory citizenship, where a citizen is somebody who actively engages and is somebody who actively participates in their own role as a citizen.